Hey class, and welcome to this week's lesson, Lesson 12. We've got a few good things on the schedule for this week, so let's just dive right in. Starting off in our life skills portion of this week's class, we are going to be talking about talent development. And we talk a little bit about how talent development can help you in a future career. So lots of good stuff in the lesson about talent development, and just a couple things I want to touch on when it comes to talent development is that school is just kind of the beginning of really developing maybe some skills and some talents that you're going to use in the workforce. It's not like you're going to go to school for 4 years or 6 years or 8 years if you want to get your doctorate or whatever degree you're going for. It's not like you're going to go to school during that time and you're going to be able to learn everything you'll ever need to know for your field of study and for your future job, and then after that you just go out and you get this job and that's all you do the rest of your life. School's kind of just the tip of the iceberg, right? That's where you get your good foundations, if you would. You get a good understanding of things, but then when you get out into the work field, it's important that you keep developing your skills and your talents, because you'll find that once you get working somewhere, you're going to learn new things and need to learn new things, and you're going to have things that you can reflect on that you learned from school. So it's important to always be adapting, especially in this day and age where industries are constantly changing. Change is just the norm in a business, whatever it be. And so keeping up with skills and developing your skills is really crucial. And so always making sure, one thing that BYU Idaho or Pathways does for us instructors is every semester we have to do what they call instructor development. So every semester, as part of our job is to be teaching the class and monitoring the class and grading papers and stuff like that. But then a portion of our job is actually to develop new skills and figure out ways we can be better teachers, figure out maybe a different way to present material. Maybe we could be better at giving feedback, all these different skills that we can develop as instructors. And you'll find in any career that you have, that's going to be a normal thing to have to deal with, is where I know in previous jobs that I had, at the end of the year, they call them performance reviews, and they talk about the year and some things maybe I was able to accomplish and what are some goals or some things that I'd like to do for the next year. So it's crucial that you learn early on, even just in school and then future in your career, that talent development will always be happening. A piece of advice I remember, if you get into a job and you're like, oh, what skill should I be learning? One thing that I've really used in my career is finding a way to fill in the gaps. And let me explain that a little bit. So when I was in school, I remember that we one time had a devotional speaker come. I went to school at BYU Idaho. I don't know if you remember from the beginning of the semester. Every Tuesday there's a devotional, and I'd go to that devotional. And I remember this one speaker talking about, talent development and career success and things like that. And the one piece of advice that I really took away from that was, when you get into a job, find what that company needs, right? Find the holes. Be able to have an open vision where you can find the holes. What are the needs of that company? What are they missing? And then you figure out a way to fill in those holes. And that will help you propel your career. And I'm still fairly early on in my career. I still have a lot of career left ahead of me. But I'll tell you, in my short time that I've had, I feel like I took that counsel and I've applied it, and I feel like it really has helped me, because it shows to your bosses that, hey, this person's a hard worker. Also, if you're fulfilling needs that the company needs and nobody else wants to do, that kind of puts you on another pedestal, like, oh, this person's a problem solver. They're able to figure this out when nobody else wanted to or was able to. And so I think, as you start careers down the road, after you finish school, or even if you're in one right now, look for those gaps and say, hey, maybe there's somebody that, maybe nobody in the office is very good at Excel. Hey, I'm going to go take an extra Excel class so I can make sure I'm, the best at Excel, and I can do all these cool things with Excel, things like that. So talent development, really important that you always have that mindset of you're always going to be developing skills and talents, and it doesn't just end once school's over. For our writing lesson this week, pretty straightforward. We're going to be talking about transitions, transitioning from one thought to another within a paragraph, transitioning from paragraph to paragraph. So crucial in writing, really helps that flow. So that way we're not talking about apples in one paragraph and all of a sudden we jump over to oranges in the next paragraph and we didn't combine those two at all. It just really, more than anything, it just really helps the flow of the paper. So that way as a reader as myself is reading your papers, it's not like, wait, what were they talking? They were just talking about apples and now we're talking about oranges. How did we get there, right? So transitions, helping that flow, going from one idea to another idea, and making that transition. Now for the last math, we're going to continue with variables. I know last week we did a lot of stuff with variables, but we're going to kick it up one more notch here. So last week when you did variables, the variables were just on one side of the equation. Maybe you'd have like 3x plus 8 equals 10, solve for x type thing. This week we're going to have variables on both sides of the equation. And now what I mean by that is you're going to have maybe something that's like 3x plus 8 equals x minus 10. And I'm going to ask you to solve for x. So now it looks a little more tricky because it's like, whoa, wait, x is on both sides of the equation. What am I supposed to do here? So the couple of little tricks here. First, you always want to get all your variables to one side of the equation, or one side of the equal sign, and then all of your whole numbers to the other. That's your goal. That's the main outlook. Anytime you see them on separate sides, say, okay, how am I going to get this x over here to be over here, right? That's my end goal. I need all the x's on one side and all the numbers on the other side. Then once you get it to there, it's just like last week. But sometimes getting it to there can be a little bit tricky. As I mentioned in last week's video, you'll want to remember PEMDAS, or order of operations. I will not stress this enough. This is just always going to be there. It's just one of those things you keep grinding and grinding and doing every week, and it's never going to go away. Always remember your order of operations, okay? When you're working these out from there, you're going to be doing what we call using your additive inverses and your multiplication inverses. What that means is, if I've got a positive 10x on this side of my equation and I want to move it to this side of the equation, I subtract 10x from this side. But what I do to one side, I got to do to the other side. So then I do a minus 10x over here. You'll see videos on all this. Same thing with multiplication and division, right? So if you got positive, then the way to get it over to the other side is to subtract it. If you've got a subtraction over here, or a negative, then the way to get it to the other side is add it. Multiplication and division, same thing. If I'm multiplying something over here, like 3 times x, and I'm trying to get x by itself, then I divide by 3. But then what I do on one side, I got to do on the other side. Sorry if I make that confusing. It's much easier to show if I had a whiteboard and could write it out. But you'll see plenty of videos on that. Don't forget, one thing I want to remind people of, the Khan Academy. If you're struggling with some of this math, of course, I'm always a resource. There's the Tutoring Center that's a resource. There's also the Khan Academy website, which is a great resource. I personally like watching their videos. I think they're really well done. I think their way of explaining things really breaks it down step by step. So don't be afraid to reach out or to utilize that resource as well if you're finding that you're getting stuck on some problems. And that's all I've got for you this week. I hope you have a great week. Keep going strong. Keep pushing all the way to the end. Week 12 of 14 here, so close. Just keep going strong. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. Have a great week.